everyone. Welcome back to Ask IITians. How are you all? I hope you all are great. You all are doing very well. Exactly. So, my dear students, as we have done the two session of this chapter, that is the separation of substances. So maybe now this time you are having more knowledge about all of these things. Exactly. So, my dear student, like in the last two session, if I have already told you this thing that we are having the mixture, and in your syllabus, the mixture which we are going to discuss is the solid mixture, solid liquid mixture, and the liquid mixture. Exactly. So, in the last two session, we have discovered or we have discussed all of the techniques for the separation of the component when we are having the solid mixture and the solid liquid mixture. Okay, so my dear students, now we are going to start with today's topic. That first is the magnetic separation. Separation of liquid when it is miscible and immiscible liquids, and the processes, one is the distillation and another one is the separating funnel. Okay, so we are going to discuss all of these topics in today's session, and these are very simple topic. Like you don't have to give so much of time to it, you just have to listen it very carefully, and within in a minute or a second you will get to know that what are the techniques is. Okay, so my dear student, you'll ask me that, ma'am, why magnetic separation is there? So it is a kind of the technique which we use to separate out the material depending upon their magnetic property and the non-magnetic property. Okay. So my dear student, if you remember from your last chapter that we have done, that is the sorting of material. Exactly. Do you remember? In that we having one property, that is the magnetism property. And on the basis of that, we are separating the metals, that the materials, that the substances which are attracted towards the magnet, we call them as the magnetic materials, and another one are the non-magnetic material. So that's the point, student. Whenever we are having a mixture in which one of the substance is the magnetic one and the another substance is non-magnetic one, so we can separate it out by using the magnetic separation. Fine, student. For example, I'll give you one example here. If I'm having a mixture of sulfur and iron nails, or such as iron pieces, okay, very small pieces are there, and I have to separate those iron pieces. So my dear student, again the problem comes here, that you know that the sulfur is the powder one and the iron pieces are very small, so you can't use that solid technique that we have learn till now. Exactly, you can't use winnowing method because both are the, one is the powder form and one is the piece form, so you can see that the winnowing, threshing, all of these can't be used. But what we can see here, that the iron pieces are attracted towards the magnet. Okay, so what we'll do, that we'll use the magnet over the mixture of that. So what will happen, the iron pieces will attract it toward that magnet because of the magnetism, the force exerted by the magnet, and that's how the iron pieces will get attracted towards the magnet, student. And that's how we say it is that iron is the magnet substance, and that's how we can separate them out. Okay, because iron pieces are going to be attracted toward the magnet, it's just that the sulfur which is left behind. Okay, as you can see in this also, student, that these are the iron pieces, very small iron pieces they all are, and this is a magnet, red color, and when you are removing it, so all of these iron pieces are collectively moving behind it. So that is how, student, you can use the magnetic separation method when you are having any magnetic substance and the non-magnetic substance. Okay, application like separating non-magnetic impurities component from the magnetic ore. Like when ore is a kind of the thing from which we extract out the materials or the substance. So when we extract out, so what we'll see, that they are having some impurities, and if they are non-magnetic in nature and the substance is the magnetic, so what we can do, we can use the magnet, so the substance will get attracted towards it and it will get extracted out easily. So that is why, student, this technique can be used up at the point when we are having any magnetic substance. Okay, so that it will get attracted towards the magnet, and there will be the, you can say the then what we can say, that it will bind with the magnet. Fine. So this is the magnetic separation, students. For example, student, like generally what I have seen, not exactly, but yes, in hospitals, like whenever any person is having any injury in his eye or something like that, if by chance any iron piece enters into the eye, like the person who generally works in the iron industries, iron factories, so what the doctor do, that the doctor use the magnet so that the iron piece will feel the magnet force towards the magnetic force, and it will come out of the eye. Okay, so that's how, student, this magnetic separation is used up. Fine. So that is why it is also an important technique. Like whenever if you are having such situation, you are having the magnetic substance and you are having the non-magnetic one, and if someone asks you to separate them out, so what you can do is you can easily use the magnet and you can apply over that powder form. So the magnetic part will get attracted toward the magnet and the other part will remain as it is. Okay. Now coming to the separation of liquids, that means it will having a mixture of liquid and liquid. If it is having a mixture of liquid and liquid, so we have to separate out these. Now student, as we are having the mixture of solid and liquid, so in that part we are having some soluble solid and we are having some insoluble solid. So that's a, student, we are having two different type of liquid. One is the miscible one and one is the immiscible one. You can say that the miscible liquids are those liquids which are completely soluble in each other, completely dissolve, you can also say. And the immiscible are that are not completely soluble. So to separate out such liquid, we use the distillation process, and to separate out such liquid, that is the immiscible liquid, we use the separating funnel method. Okay. Now student, if you are say that ma'am, how you are saying that miscible and the immiscible thing? So my dear student, if I give you the example of milk and water. Okay, so you have always seen in your house that we add some amount of water in the milk, and so that is how, student, when water mix with the milk, we find out a proper solution is there. We don't find it out that the milk is separate out or the water is going to be separate out. Exactly. So these two are the liquids which are completely miscible in each other. Okay, and so these are the miscible one. But if I take the example of oil and water, see, oil is also a liquid, but it's just that it is more denser than water, but both are the liquid. But these are the liquid which are immiscible in each other. Okay, like they are not like when you add like when you are having the water or you add the drop of oil over it, so what you'll find out that the oil is not going to be dissolved in the water, that the oil drops start floating over the water. So that's how, student, we are having the miscible liquids and we are having the immiscible liquids. Okay, and to separate out these type of liquid, we are having different technique. First technique is the distillation for the miscible one, and the second is the separating funnel for the immiscible one. Okay, you got my point? Okay, so now moving ahead, first of all, it's the distillation process. So this is the whole apparatus you can see which we use for the distillation. To separate the miscible liquids, the boiling point of the liquid must be sufficiently different. So my dear student, try to understand distillation process. For example, acetone in water. Acetone is having the boiling point of 78 degrees Celsius, maybe 76 can be, and the water is having the boiling point of 100 degrees Celsius. But these two liquids are miscible with each other. Like when you make the solution of acetone in water, so they are completely soluble, like they are mixing with each other properly. You will not find out the different layer of these two. When you are mixing these two liquids, they will become miscible with each other. Okay, but student, distillation method can be used at that point when both of the liquids are having the different boiling points, like sufficient that there the difference between the boiling point must be there. If it is not having the difference in the boiling point, so you can't separate them by using the distillation method. Okay, now what you can do is, like, this is the apparatus which we called as the distillation apparatus. Okay, now in this distillation apparatus, what happens, student? You can see that the complete, like the heating process is going on, and this flask, you can say that this round bottom flask, like this is having the round bottom, so we call it as the round bottom flask. Okay, round bottom flask, and in this we have taken the mixture of acetone plus water. Okay, now my dear students, when there is the acetone and the water and we are giving it heat, okay, when the heat is continuously going over, so when the temperature of this bottom flask reaches to 78 degrees Celsius, so at that point, what will happen, student? That the acetone will start evaporating. Now from here, the acetone will start evaporating. Only acetone, because the temperature is 78 and at 78 degrees Celsius, only acetone will start evaporate. Okay, so when start evaporate, so what will happen, that the vapors of the that is the acetone will go from here. This is called as the condenser. Okay, now what the condenser do, students, that it will convert the vapor into the liquid form. That means condenser, you can say that this is the condensation process, student, that the vapors when move inside this tube, so what you'll find out that they are converting into the liquid. How? Because it is providing at the cool temperature or the low temperature, so that the vapor is going to be converted into the liquid. Because student, if you remember that the vaporization is what? Vaporization is conversion of liquid to vapors. And what's the condensation is? Condensation is reverse of it. Like it's the vapors converts back to the liquid, and it is done by increasing the temperature, and it is done by decreasing the temperature. Okay, students, like when you take one pen and you are having some water in it, and when you start boiling it, so you are increasing the temperature. Exactly, because when we are giving continuous heat, so the temperature is going to be increased definitely. So what will happen, that the water will convert into the vapor form. That means the vapors are going to be released in the atmosphere. But if you cover up that pen with some of the plate kind of thing, and after some time when you remove that plate over it, so you will find out that it is having some vapors over it. And when you kept that plate aside, like from that pen, that means now you are cooling that plate. Okay, the temperature is going to be decreased down. So what you will find out, that it is having some small droplets of water. So that's how the vapor again converts into the liquid. That is the condensation process, and it happens when the temperature decreases. So this is the condenser, which decrease the temperature and the vapor converts into the liquid, and you can see that the drop of the liquids are falling down. And here you are collecting first of all the acetone, and when student, you will see now the temperature is increasing towards the 100 degrees Celsius. So you have to just stop at the process, so that all of the acetone will transfer here, and this flask will remain with the water. So that is the distillation process, student, and this distillation process can be used up only and only when such two liquids are miscible, but they are having some difference in the boiling point. If they are having the similar boiling point, so you can't separate them out. Exactly. For example, there are two liquids, X and Y, and both are having the boiling point of 50 degrees Celsius, or I'll say one having the 50 and one is having 55. So there is a very less difference. So you start boiling it, and what you'll find out, that both of the vapors are forming. But you have to separate such type of liquids whose boiling points are having some difference. For example, acetone and water. Acetone is having the boiling point of 78 degrees Celsius, and water is having the boiling point of 100 degrees Celsius. Okay, and as I told you, that the vaporization, first of all, vaporization will take place because you are increasing the temperature over here, like the heating is going on. So acetone, when the temperature, exactly, first of all the temperature will reach to 78, after that it will go to 100 now. So when it reaches to 78 degrees Celsius, students, what you will find out, that the acetone will convert into the vapors, and when those vapors will transfer to the condenser, this condenser decrease down the temperature, and the vapor form will convert into the liquid, and that's how you are separating the two liquids which are miscible in nature. Okay, and this is the distillation process. Got my point? Good. Now we are left with second method. So this is the separating funnel method, student. Now what's the separating funnel? So this method is used up to separate out the two immiscible liquids, that the liquids which are not miscible with each other, not completely soluble. For example, not soil. I'm so sorry. I'm talking about oil actually. It's like oil and water. Okay, so my dear student, what's the separating funnel? So the apparatus which you are looking here, this apparatus, this This is a kind of funnel. Oh, sorry. Yes, kind of funnel, and we call it as the separating funnel, students. Like, why we call it as the separating funnel? Because what happens, student, when you take this funnel, okay, first of all, you will add the solution of those two miscible liquids. Fine. For example, oil and water is there. You start shaking it. When you start shaking it, students, and first of all, you shake it, and then after that, what you will do, you will just keep that funnel by, like, here, this stand is, this is a stand which is holding that funnel. Okay, so you adjust that funnel into that stand, and you just left that funnel for some time. When you left that funnel undisturbed for some time, so what you see the formation of layers, like you are seeing at this point, like there is the separation of these two layers. So you will find out that the liquids which are not dissoluble in each other, so you will find out that there is the formation of the layers. And now when there is the formation of the layers, you can open up the knob and you can separate out the liquid. Okay, how? See here, oil from water and iron ore. See, this is the separating funnel. Okay, this is the separating funnel. Now, why we are calling it as the separating funnel? Because this funnel is using for the separation of the two miscible liquids, two immiscible liquids. Now there is oil and water in this. Now the high density liquid will always be lower one, and the low density liquid will be upper one. Now you will know that the oil is the high density one, so oil will remain here and water will remain here. That means when you shake it up and when you keep this separating funnel undisturbed for some time, student, so what you will find out the formation of layers of these two different liquids, and they will occupy the layers such as when they are having the different density. Like the oil is more denser in nature as compared to water. Exactly. So oil will occupy the lower layer and the water will occupy the higher layer. Okay. You are looking at the separation of these two liquids. Now, students, this is a knob. We call it as knob. When you open this knob, students, so this oil will start flowing here. Okay, so now you will collect the oil. Now when you are doing such experiment, what you have to observe is that when the point comes or when the time comes that when the oil is completely going to be removed from this separating funnel, so you just have to close that knob. Otherwise the water will also pass out through it. If the water is going to be passed out, so again, what's the point of the separation now? So you have to be very particular that when you have opened the knob and when the oil is coming out from that funnel, you have to be very careful that okay, when the oil is going to be completely flow down, so you have to see that now only water is left, so you just have to immediately close the knob. If the knob by chance is getting opened up, so what happened, the water will also come down, and that's how you are not getting the separating mixture. Okay, so in that method, student, that for the separating funnel, we are having two immiscible liquids, and these two immiscible liquids are separate, like they are not soluble in each other, having different density. For example, oil and water. Oil is more denser and water is less denser. So oil will occupy the lower layer and water will occupy the higher layer. And this is the knob. And when you open the knob, so by turning it, so oil will flow down first, and you have to keep it very carefully that no amount of water, like no drop of water, will pass through it. So that's how, student, you can separate out the mixture of the two immiscible liquids. Okay. And in this, you don't require the difference in boiling point. It's just that in that method, what you require, difference in density, so that they can separate out. And see, student, I have done this experiment. I have done both of these experiments in my laboratories, separating funnel as well as the distillation method. And both are the methods are very, like when you are doing these methods, they are very required what I can say, you require more carefulness. If you are not giving that carefulness to your experiment, definitely you are facing the problem, because once the temperature reaches, so it will not take such time to reach the another temperature. Okay, so you have to be keep a very knee point when it reaches to the first temperature, and when all of the vapors are transferring, so you have to stop the heating process so that the water will not get evaporate out. Similar thing will come here, that you have to turn off the knob when you observe that okay, all of the oil has been fall down. Okay, it's just that the water is there in the funnel, and after that you can separate it out, that water, in the another beaker or in any other container. So these two methods are given in your syllabus for the separation of the liquids. Fine students, like the liquid and liquid, solid and solid, solid and liquid. So we have done all of these separation like which has been given in your syllabus. So how would you separate the camphor from salt? Now this is the important question, students. Camphor from salt. So my dear student, as we are having one process, that is the vaporization, we are having one condensation. So there is another method which we called as the sublimation. So what's the sublimation, student? In that process, that the solid material will directly convert into the gas material. That means like camphor is one of them. When you start heating the camphor, so that camphor which is present in the solid form, it directly convert into the vapor form or the gas form. So student, when you are having the mixture of camphor and salt, okay, camphor and salt, so what you can do is you can heat this mixture. When you start heating this mixture, so the camphor will undergo the sublimation process, that it will convert directly into the gas, and after that you just left with the salt. So you can use the sublimation process at that point when one of the substance can undergo the sublimation easily, because salt can't convert into the vapor, है ना? So that's how you can use this method at that point when you're having any substance which can undergo the sublimation. For example, camphor is one of them. Naphthalene ball is also the example of the sublimation substances, that it directly converts into the vapor. Okay, on heating. Just remember this thing, on heating, when you heat that mixture, so the camphor will evaporate into the atmosphere and the salt will remain left behind. So that's how you can separate the mixture of camphor from the salt. Okay. Okay. So now, my dear student, we have revised all of these things. Now, what the point is, if any doubt comes to your mind or any query, so you can post that query over the forum, public forum or the private forum, and definitely you will get your answer. And that's how this chapter is going to be complete. Okay. And then we'll start with our next chapter. So we have completed our third chapter, student, and it's just that I want you to revise all of these techniques again and again, because these are very important techniques. And what the thing is, you will definitely find out all of these techniques in your higher classes, and you will be very happy when you will see there and you'll know that I know what's the sublimation is, I know what's the distillation is. So it's a very good thing for you. Okay, so just revise all of these techniques with a great attention, and if you have any doubt, please post it over the forum and you'll get your answer. And keep learning from Ask IITians. Thank you, students.